Nakita na po natin, pogos have brought a myriad of problems in our country. It has become a breeding ground for corruption, immorality, illicit activities, prostitution, drugs, and modern-day slavery. And I would like to talk on the subject of the pogo. I call it pogos, the road to perdition. So, Mr. Speaker, friends and colleagues, magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. Today, I rise before you not just as a legislator or your colleague, but as a senior citizen who is concerned about the moral and ethical fabric of our nation. As a grandfather, fearful of the kind of society we will bequeath to our children and our grandchildren if we fail to reject vice and weed out the immoral elements in our society. I also speak out today as a concerned Filipino who believes in the virtues of a nation built on solid moral foundations. Today, Mr. Speaker, I am compelled to address this august body and speak passionately about an issue that has been plaguing our country today: Philippine offshore gaming operations, or POGOs. As we gather here today to resume our sessions, it is imperative that we reflect upon the consequences of allowing such enterprises to persist in our nation and take a stand on the need to shut the door to POGOs for good. Proverbs 1:10-15 of the Bible warns us in a translation today where it says, and I quote, "My son, if sinful men entice you, do not give in to them. If they say, 'Come along with us, let's lie in wait for innocent blood. Let's ambush some harmless soul. Let's swallow them alive like the grave, and whole like those who go down to the pit. We will get all sorts of valuable things and fill our houses with plunder. Cast lots with us. We will all share the loot." End of quote, Mr. Speaker. This passage serves as a stark reminder that seemingly harmless vices, when left unchecked, can lead to heinous crimes and rampant corruption that threaten the moral fabric of our society. My friends, Mr. Speaker, the POGO industry has often touted the benefits of regulation, but history and experience have shown us that these regulations are insufficient in preventing legal operations from becoming illegal dens of vice and criminality. Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleagues, please view the most recent news videos that I have put together concerning POGO, Mr. Speaker. May I ask, please, to view this video right now.
Sinalakay kahapon ng mga otoridad ang isang Philippine offshore gaming operator o POGO sa Pasay City dahil sa umano'y prostitusyon at iligal na operasyon nito. Isinagawa ang raid sa bisa ng search warrant na inisyu ng Makati Regional Trial Court Branch 134. Ayon sa mga otoridad, Setyembre ngayong taon nang i-revoke ang license to operate ng nasabing POGO hub. Ngunit sa kabila nito ay patuloy pa rin ang kanilang operasyon. Natuklasan sa nasabing POGO ang iba't ibang mga pasilidad gaya ng KTV area, spa, bedroom, isang kwarto na kung tawagin ay aquarium na hinihinalang ginagamit sa umano'y prostitusyon. Nasa 500 Chinese nationals ang inabutan ng mga otoridad na sinasabing nagtatrabaho doon, habang may ilan ding mga Pilipino.
itong isang order ng pagkain. And it turned out meron palang nakapalaman dito na 2 sachet ng shabu at yung mga point nakapaloob siya doon sa pagkain.
Just imagine, Mr. Speaker, nung ni-raid po ang Pogo Hub doon sa Pasay, ay nakakita pa po ng torture chamber. Just imagine, torture chamber, Mr. Speaker. Now, hindi lamang yan, nakita po nyo, November 4, pagkatapos i-raid, naglagay na ng CCTV doon sa building para malaman agad na meron nagre-raid. At nakita po dito, Mr. Speaker, na meron pa rin mga Chinese ang nakatira doon. So, may I also add, Mr. Speaker, a Pogo-related case that last October 30, 9 people, 6 of them were Chinese nationals, were abducted in Muntinlupa City's Ayala Alabang Hills. However, 3 of them who were Filipinos subsequently set free in Calauan, Laguna. Mr. Speaker, ito pong mga recent episodes na ito remind us that the pursuit of financial gains through supposedly legal means like gambling is a perilous path that our society should not tread, a road to perdition for the Filipino people. Mr. Speaker, St. Paul cautioned us in 1 Corinthians 10:23, and I quote, in a modern translation, everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Everything is permissible, but not everything is edifying. End of quote. We must recognize that legality does not always equate to what is beneficial or edifying for our society. It is my belief that it is not enough for us to be merely content with regulation, especially when dealing with unscrupulous entities that are quick to exploit any regulatory gaps or loopholes. For example, this representation has received reports, Mr. Speaker, of Chinese residents who have been able to secure official documents like birth certificates and driver's licenses. In the statement of Immigration Commissioner Norman Tansinko, he mentioned that there were at least 10 recent of authentic passports used by illegal aliens. And perhaps, Mr. Speaker, my esteemed colleagues, as I stand before you today in this August chamber, that there are still unreported cases of illegal aliens who were able to illegally acquire Philippine passports, birth certificates, driver's licenses, and postal identification cards. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, this representation is completely baffled and perplexed. How do these Chinese individuals manage to get passports from the Philippines? How do they obtain driver's licenses and birth certificates? These are the documents needed for a valid passport. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, my esteemed colleagues, I have here a copy of the memorandum issued by the Bureau of Immigration last January 10, 2023, Memorandum number 2023-004, where 40,000 foreign nationals have been recommended by the Bureau of Immigration Legal Division to lift their names from the BI alert list. Where is the list containing the names of these 40,000 foreign nationals, Mr. Speaker? And how was the lifting procedure carried out? I demand an answer to this from the Bureau of Immigration. Mr. Speaker and my fellow colleagues, this is now a national security concern. In various congressional hearings, we have unearthed numerous instances wherein these POGOs have been unable and unwilling to comply with our rules and standards. These incidents are the basis for recommendations to phase out POGO operations in the country. Recommendations I fully support because these POGOs have shown that they cannot be trusted to follow the laws in our land. In fact, we must commend law enforcement authorities, the Secretary of the Department of Justice, Secretary Jesus Crispin Boying Rimulya, and the Secretary of the Department of Interior and Local Government, Secretary Benjamin Benarci Abalos Jr., who were at the same time my colleagues in this House, Mr. Speaker, for their relentless pursuit of justice in cracking down on these illegal and immoral enterprises. I commend them for their unwavering commitment to shine a light on the true nature of these operations, revealing the darkness that lurks behind the facade of quick financial gains. However, I would like to ask the question to our law enforcement agencies kung bakit itong mga Chinese na ito at nakikita ko ay maraming mga escort at mga bodyguard na nanggagaling sa armed forces at nanggagaling sa Philippine National Police, Mr. Speaker. They have shown us that clearly the price we pay for POGOs is much too high, and it is not worth it, Mr. Speaker. My esteemed colleagues, we have repeatedly been presented with clear evidence that the social cost of POGO operations far outweigh the revenues they generate. Nakita na po natin, POGOs have brought a myriad of problems in our country. It has become a breeding ground for corruption, immorality, illicit activities, prostitution, drugs, and modern-day slavery. This reminds us of the wisdom found in Proverbs 10:2, and I quote, "Ill-gotten treasures have no lasting value, but righteousness delivers from death." It is evident that the revenues accrued from POGOs come at the cost of our nation's soul and the well-being of our people. The treasures they bring are ill-gotten, and we must not allow them to bring us down a path that leads to perdition. Batid ko po na kailangan ng gobyerno ng pondo. Pondo, hindi POGO. I contend that our government must seek alternative revenue streams that do not rely on so-called harmless vices that ultimately lead to corrupt and unlawful activities. The question we must grapple with is, do we wish to sustain a source of revenue that is tainted with the suffering of our people, the erosion of our values, and the degradation of our society? Or should we heed the biblical guidance found in Proverbs 28, number 6? Better is a poor man who walks in his integrity than a rich man who is crooked in his ways. End of quote. Our path should be clear. It is better to be a nation of integrity. It is better to walk the right path. It is better to reject sin and vice and corruption. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, it is our moral duty to seek alternative sources of revenue that do not involve vices that inevitably lead to corrupt and immoral activities. We must redirect our focus toward industries and uplift the lives of our citizens, strengthen morality, and ensure a brighter future for the next generation. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I would like to quote in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 19 to 20, as a reminder to all, Mr. Speaker, and I quote, "Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies." End of quote. Taken from a modern translation of the Bible, Mr. Speaker. We must treat our country as we treat our own bodies. Why? It is a holy temple, a blessing from God. To us, He has given us a land blessed with abundance of beauty and resources, many of which remain untapped. Rather than looking to exploit and earn from the darkness that resides in the souls of men and women, should we not find ways to maximize the talents and skills of our people, to employ them in industries that contribute positively to our nation's body and soul? Mga kaibigan, mga kasama, Mr. Speaker, the time has come to finally shut the door to Pogos and ensure the safety and moral standing of our nation. Let us heed the lessons of the Holy Scriptures, which remind us of the importance of righteousness and integrity. It is our solemn duty to put the welfare and moral values of our people above the allure of ill-gotten riches. I implore each one of you to consider the future we are creating for our children, to reject Pogos and the road to perdition, and to stand on the side of righteousness, to stand on the right side of history. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.